Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short, little unboxing video to share with you guys. My friend of the channel, if you've been following along, has loaned me a massive number of Poikilo knives, which is a brand that I've stated many times. This brand has stupefied me over and over again. They have brought to the table materials, finish work, coatings, all of this stuff that it has almost exclusively belonged at a much higher price point. Now, make no mistake, these are still expensive knives, but they are, I suppose you could say they are breaking a lot of rules as far as what people expect to see for certain dollar amounts, which is good. I am a big fan of special made cheaper. Again, these are not budget knives, but if we're talking about what they're doing, yeah, typically we see this type of stuff at much higher price points, even when it is made in China, which is pretty amazing. So these are the final 4 knives that were in that box. And obviously I've got a lot of work to do covering these products. Today's video is simply an unboxing. It is not a review of any type. We're just exploring these things, doing first impressions. I will link these knives down in the description so that you guys can check them out. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. These 2 are labeled as mid-tech, which I need to stress. I don't know exactly how much handwork is involved with these. I will speak to them before I do the review so that we can determine that. But when you use that word, which essentially means partially handmade, partially machine-made, what percentage, that's kind of up in the air. But a mid-tech is not entirely made by machine. So I need clarification on that. Take that word with a grain of salt. They do typically tend to be very impressive. So mini tuna, these are both the same knife. I'm going to try and keep that right there. Okay, we have, what is this material? What is it? Maybe darkened titanium. It's not heavy enough to be, zirconium. But right off the bat, that same distinct, I'm telling you, if you're used to super high-end Chinese production knives, then you know that the action can get absolutely insane. Poikilo's action is, it's really amazing. It's really something special. So that's what they're doing here. Again, M398. That seems to be their standard, which is pretty impressive. Still, I mean, I recorded all these at the same time, so you guys are probably seeing them like a week or 2 apart. So I'm asking a lot of the same questions, but by the time you guys see this, I will probably already know whether or not their heat treat is proper. But at the time of this recording, I don't know that yet. I haven't confirmed it. I would assume, like I've said in the past videos, if they're not cutting corners on anything else, it would be very surprising to find out they cut corners on the heat treat, right? Nice factory edge, nice and bitey, nice and sharp. Love this sort of, I don't know if it's medium, it's like glass blasted or vapor blasted. It's just a really nice finish. Titanium, shadow box by the liner underneath, which is usually, yep, you can see right there, it's also titanium. Always nice to see that. Nice milled clip there. No visible hardware. That's something that they typically do. These are elements that show up on knives when they are made and designed by actual knife people. I'm not saying that anybody who doesn't do this stuff is not an actual knife person. I'm saying you don't arrive at this conclusive build without being a hardcore knife person. So either they're in-house designers or the collaborative designers, like the collaboration, when whoever they're working with, which is sometimes other designers who I'm not familiar with, they are knife people. Hardcore. So another mini tuna here. What do we have? Oh, we have, it's the exact opposite here. So we have a very nice polished DLC. So this is interesting. Hold on. I've seen a lot of polished DLC blades. So this is exactly what happens when you do the DLC coating and then polish. I don't know if it's the polish first and then the coating or vice versa. I think it's the polish first and then the coating. So I've seen satin DLC. I've seen like near mirror, I've seen tumbled polished DLC, and I've seen mirrored DLC. This is the same glass blasting and then DLC coated. So for people who like their DLC polishes to have some subtle reflectivity. You don't like the chalky matte stuff that Spyderco typically does. But at the same time, maybe you're not a big fan of hyper reflectivity, like in the CKF Sakosha, that DLC. This is a nice in-between. I would assume that these bolster pieces are also DLC coated, as well as the titanium liners underneath, and then the pocket clip. Very, very cool. The same action, right? Nice front flipper, and then the rear flipper, both not obtrusive, not the way that I would define it anyway. Very cool. I'm not sure what those... I think Poikilo tends to hover, like their base stuff tends to hover 200 to 300. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm guessing too high or too low, but I would imagine that would be the case. M390 is not cheap. I don't care who made... Listen, if you're new and you're thinking, oh, but it's Chinese M398. No, M398 is M398. It's Bowler. They get it from Bowler. They don't just magic it. It's not like, poof, we have our... No, it's M398. They get it from Bowler. So it's not cheap stuff. And it's not cheap to work with, and it's not cheap to... all of the little tiny things that are involved with creating a knife, right? It's not going to be cheap. So I'm going to go... I don't know why I'm wanting to do the heaviest last. I don't know. Taro and Rhino. Let's do the Rhino first. So, still a lot of research that needs to be done on these knives before I can review them. Oh boy, I feel like I've seen something similar to this, but hold on. I think we've got something special. Yeah. So I think I actually unboxed a different version of the Rhino. This is very interesting how they do their zirconium Damascus matte finished, and then they polish other areas. Again, that layered zirconium Damascus. Look at that pocket clip as well. Oh, that's nice. I would say, well, hold on. Let's take a look at this. So this is very near full mirror, but it's subtly tumbled. That's so nice. Let's take a look here. Again, with another designer logo that I am at the moment not familiar with, but that's part of the reason why we do these unboxings. Just to, kind of, if there are people in the comment sections who are more familiar, or if Poikilo wants to join in and make this information public right in the middle of the discussion, I find that to be hyper beneficial as far as getting the right information out there before we do the review. But that would be whoever is also involved with this, the original designer. So I would say it's a step further even than the polish that is on this, or the blasting, yeah, without being a full-on mirror, which is really, really cool. That is so nice. Again, M398, nice blasted titanium here. A lot of extra special stuff, definitely. That's not going to be cheap. It's not, we can't slap that stuff on there and just go, yep, same price. It's going to be more expensive. Even though it does not add specifically utilitarian elements, it adds extra, it's extra cost that's just going into kind of it's tickling the fancies of the enthusiast, right? For people who are willing to pay for that special thing, right? No, shouldn't be anything new to people who are familiar with this channel and others like mine, but that's always a little confusing to people who are newer. And then finally, we have the Taro Mid-Tech. Always interested to find out what they mean when they say Mid-Tech and what has been applied to the knife that has that label. Look how this backspacer, how it rises up out of the back of the knife. That's so interesting. Obviously, it's perfect centering. There's that pivot that we always see. So I'm going to guess that this is DLC. And then it looks like we have a nested liner there. Hold on. Okay, so this is like a hand rub satin finish. That's what that looks like to me. There's the frog. Always charming. We have the nested titanium liner lock. I can tell because there's a chip in there, and the only reason to do that is if the liner itself is actually made out of titanium. So the action on this is stupendous. All of these have very buttered glass action, which is different from fall shut, right? If you've got, let's say you've got a Civivi, and you're like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I got a $55 Civivi that'll fall shut. Fall shut and action like this are definitely different. In terms of the total amount of friction that is being created, how aware you are of the internals as that blade is in operation, there is a hyper difference, a night and day difference in feeling of action when you're talking about a $50, $60 false shut Civivi and a knife like this. I don't care so much about the knife being perfectly false shut as I do just being perfectly smooth and consistent throughout that movement. And all of these, that's something that is so consistent with Poikilo, is not necessarily how quickly the blade falls shut, but whatever it is that they're doing on the inside to ensure that there are no, for example, indentions created by over-tightening of the pivot, or maybe a surface finish that the bearings are riding on that is not perfectly consistent, and it creates a little bit of that off-road feeling, right? All of them, every single one that I have handled, have been perfectly smooth, more or less tight, which is fine, but perfectly smooth, insanely smooth. This one in particular has all of that plus being false shut. I mean, this is me being somebody who likes to buy knives in this territory. If, this is the type of action that I like to feel. This is the type of action that blows me away versus what is typically offered at this price point. I'm going to venture to guess that other people who own these Poikilo knives will echo what I'm saying. Because those people have probably experienced a lot of other knives that are competitors in this territory. And while good, like for example, Wii knives, good action, like great action, right? Reich, Riot, all great. But if I was going to rank the feeling of quality of pivot action alone in these knives versus those competitors, which I would say are 100% in the same competitive space, these are superior, right? Now, they'll still function probably just as fine, right? In fact, I mean, like, if we're going to talk about, like, how much do I need to spend on a knife for it to function the way that I want it to as a tool? Just spend $30 on a QSP Penguin, right? We're in a different territory where there are elements of these knives that cater to completely different people looking for things that are so far beyond standard utility, right? It's a totally different market. Utilitarian, yes, but that's only part of the equation. Poikilo is keenly aware of this. Keenly, very specifically interested in this corner of our little knife community. And I would say they're doing a good job. This is wild, man. These are so interesting. I cannot wait to share my full-length reviews with you guys, but obviously in the meantime, if you want to check them out, they are linked in the description. That's going to be it for today's unboxing and first impressions of these knives. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there. I said that weird. Go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.